hearing your music again.
Okay. Oh yeah, wait, we should be able to still talk to each other, right? You can hear me talking?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. It's just the stream that can't hear me. Duh.
Yes, we can hear you. They can hear us.
Oh, they can hear us in the stream already?
Uh-huh.
That doesn't make any sense, but okay.
It's fine. We can gossip now.
All right, let's just jump in here really quick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that's doing it, but all right, here we go. Pretty strange. What's going on, everybody? Hope y'all are doing good. Getting ready here for episode number 2 with the podcast, the Lost Relics podcast, with your one and only Ivana. How you doing, Ivana? How's your day been?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah,
How's your day?
not too bad. I'm glad because I've been getting a lot more chances to play a little bit in the background. Haven't been able to stream too much yet, but I did end up
Hmm.
getting that level 98, so I'm
Oh,
feeling good.
wow.
You're pretty close though, right? Are you at 97?
Yeah, I'm halfway through 96.
90, halfway to 96. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So you're gonna catch me pretty quick.
No, I hope so.
Yeah. Hopefully, that we get the update before we have to worry about either one of us getting to level 100. But we'll keep our fingers
Oh,
crossed.
God, yeah.
Uh,
I
I mean,
really hope.
my guess here is we still. I'm guess. I mean, from what we've been reading in the Discord, it does sound like we're down to the last few items left on that checklist for Corey and for Cliff. I've been excited to read what they've been posting over the past few days. We got a brand new leak in the Discord channel that the audio with the background of the house playing for like the
Right,
course of a
yeah.
minute.
The house looks like the one from the Trail Woods, though. You know, the one that we were trying to lure Warden in with the key
That's so
to let us in and stuff like that.
exactly. Oh man, I don't know how many hours I spent running around with Warden's keys. I, I actually hit 2 more Warden's keys recently, but still no strongbox. I still can't get one.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a single one?
Not a single one. I've yet to open a single strong. I mean, I could buy one, but I just want to hold the gold for the update.
Yeah.
How much gold do you think
I
you have right now, roughly?
I I have 5k gold.
You got 5. Okay, you've been spending it. She's like, I'm preparing. I'm buying stuff to go up before the update.
Yeah, I was above 1 million at some point. And I was like, it's okay, it's okay, you don't have to spend it. The update it's around the corner. And at some point I just went and bought strong boxes, gambled everything, so now I'm down to like 5k gold.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this update is going to be coming here at a really interesting time. I mean, the crypto markets in general have been crashing harder than I ever really thought I would see again. To be quite honest,
Bitcoin is under 20k now, right?
I think today it's like at 18K if I were to pull it up.
Oof,
Let me see. Right now it is at 18,760. No,
big oof.
18,300. So, and where's Engine? What's your guess on Engine's price right now?
40 cents
That's exactly it.
ish.
41 cents if you round.
Oof,
Well, yeah, it's
it's going
been
down.
it's going down. So, with that, with the fact that we're going through this crypto crash in general in the middle of or right before a Lost Relics update comes out, how do you think, or what do you think most players feel about the price of Engine, or how they think about using Engine to buy items, whether or not they even want to buy items? What do you think the average player in Lost Relics right now, not new players, the people that are playing right now, what do you think they
Uh,
think?
I think I think the first panic sell-off already happened, and I think that people who are now in the game are, I think they're mostly buying stuff, not really selling.
Yeah.
Engine is low. Like I'm doing that. I bought some engine, and I am planning on upgrading my bow, which I didn't like. I was never I never intended to do it. Like I was totally fine with my epic bow. Uh, but I decided to actually try and buy a legendary bow because I think it's a wise thing for people who have the money to buy engine right now, although it could drop even lower.
Yeah, it's
Um,
completely
so
possible.
you can basically you can play this now in two ways. You can buy engine and keep the shadow stones, um, and buy items,
Hmm.
or you can sell items if you think that the engine will recover, crypto in general will recover, and then prices will go down in Shadowstone value
Hmm.
when engine goes up. So you can buy a lot of engine now, which will have much more value in the future. Now it really depends on how long you're planning ahead. Like
Yeah.
you can have a long-term strategy in this case, or you can be me and go shopping.
You could go shopping. Um, yeah, I think it's an interesting one perspective to look at because I've had this same thought process like two or three times. Like, because there's been like, since I started playing Lost Relics, I think I've seen like two or three major crashes in engine, and then obviously the spike up. You know, the idea you were saying right now, if you were to buy items right now with your engine, so let's say you buy a bow, let's say you buy a legendary bow. Um, we got two situations, I think. You 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 can look at it from two different perspectives. If you were to spend dollars right now, get the engine, and just immediately purchase a legendary bow, then as a player you can think like, look, when I bought this legendary bow, I paid X amount of dollars, and that's all you ever need to remember. You don't need to think
Yeah.
about anything else. You just know, hey, I paid $100, I paid 200, whatever. You know. Then what happens if engine turns around, if the price explodes for whatever reason or goes back up, let's say to, even if it just goes to $1, let's say it
Mm.
doubles. Then I notice that players get into a different mindset, right? You were, when you originally bought it, you were thinking about the price in dollars, and now if the price in engine of that NFT hasn't changed, then you kind of feel a little bit like, man, I missed out. I should have just held the engine, and I would have had more dollars right now, in
Yeah.
terms of
Your
value.
buying power will be bigger,
Right,
higher.
right. But then you don't have the NFT, right? So it's like this constant cycle of like, when engine comes down in dollar terms, theoretically, the price of these NFTs should be going up in engine terms.
Yeah.
If everyone believes that a bow is worth a certain amount of dollars, right?
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
um, so
But
really,
that's the case. Like we didn't really notice that. Like it took, I think, 2 months before Lost Relics market actually reflected the engine crashing from $2 to half a dollar.
yeah, I noticed
So
the
I'm not.
exact same thing.
Sorry.
I noticed the exact same thing, and I was surprised it took as long as it did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Maybe it's because of the volume.
that's probably it, right? That's probably it. I'm sure there's still, you know, if there's 200 of a specific NFT or a specific weapon, you know, maybe 100 of those that are owned right now are by players that are not in the game at the moment and are just sitting in their wallets,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
because the volume's low, we don't really get to find out a more updated price, right? Which is
yeah.
where people can then, I mean, you speculate, but you can also make some informed decisions about like, hey, if there's a tier of an item that you never were able to consider before, now with engine prices being so far down, maybe now you got bumped up to that new tier if you have the flexibility to spend.
Yeah, but that I think also it really depends on the who is the holder of the item originally. Um, I think people who have been playing the game for 2 years, because I feel like a lot of players I'm not sure if I'm right, but I think a lot of players who hold mythic and transcendent items are quite long in the game,
Okay.
and they are not really willing to sell at certain prices. But if a new player drops a transcendent item and sees the value of it, he will
Gorgonby.
probably will sell it at the current price, at the
Okay.
price that the old player is not happy with.
And then we actually get the meeting of two different types of players, right? Because then you have the opposite kind of player who, like, just throw out Spizzo for example, who I'm guessing, I don't really know because I haven't had a chance to speak with him, but my guess is that he saw engine prices coming down and he's like, hey, this is my chance to get a transcendent item, to be able to acquire one that I wouldn't had been able to before. So you now
because
have those two
engine is down,
players.
but it also
interacting.
depends again on the holder of the item who is going to sell it. Because if it's an OG, they'll probably look at it in a dollar price, which means double the amount of engine compared to the current market prices.
How long do you need to be playing the game to be considered an OG? Like, where's
I
that
have no
line?
idea. I don't know.
Okay,
I
how
think you have
about
to go to at least two big updates.
okay, how about the average person that starts playing and then drops off for whatever reason? How long do you think they play Lost Relics before they take a break or before they're out and wait for another update?
Is this related to the question before, or?
Just in general, because like if you have, um, I think the way these items are more to value these items are based on the player base, and
Mm-hmm.
so the amount of like monthly active users would be will go up and down. Like as a brand new player, or let's say 1,000 brand new players come in right now, I would guess that 60% or 70% of them would probably stop playing after 3 months, and the rest of them would
Mm-hmm.
continue forward,
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. So then you can kind of see how over time, especially when updates are released, the player base grows and grows and grows. Like we know right now, from what we've heard about the people that are waiting in the queue to get in, was about 100,
Mm-hmm.
between 100,000 and 150,000, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the last reports that I was reading on terms of like crypto gaming said that there was an estimated 1 million to like 1.5 million players that play crypto games. So it's like 10
Only?
only, only. So that includes
Okay.
Axie. That includes Axie. That includes other big games. Axie probably counted for about half of it. Maybe actually
Mm-hmm.
maybe 60% of it. And so if we look at it like with that number, that's about 10% of the current players right now. You know, I
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? So, um, in general, like valuing your items, I do think that you need to be in the game with the game, uh, for at least 9, 10 months. Being at least casual player, so playing every day, maybe a couple of runs, just so that you can kind of sense how hard it is currently to obtain an item, because that's mostly what gives them value, right? And if you're a lucky player who is playing like a month and drops a mythical, then there is probably a higher chance that that player will sell it immediately for whatever market price is, because they maybe think it's that easy to get it and was like, oh wow, this is an expensive item, I'm gonna sell it now. And compared to some of us who have been here for a year and a half, we definitely know how hard it is to get a mythical item. So that's why I think it doesn't really, like, you have to be able to properly value an item. You really have to um, be in the game for quite a lot of time. Plus, game does change. So we had that dry era
I
before
like that, the dry era.
summer 2021. Yeah, when it was impossible to progress, impossible to get anything. Then we got the pool refilled, and things were dropping a lot. Now I feel like they're kind of Like I think looking at the overseer drop rates are quite fine.
Yeah, I see that too.
Um,
You know,
Sorry.
I see the same thing. Like I thought the same thing when I look at the overseer. Um, you know, I would like to take your what you just said right now about like the reason why some of these items are valuable is because if you're playing the game, you can already estimate or you can understand that it's going to take a significant amount of time to be able to find something, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and we flip it on its head, look at it from the other perspective. If we know as a player that finding an uncommon item is going to take you 2 weeks of play, maybe 1 week of play, what would you guess for an uncommon item?
For me.
Yeah, for you with your luck rate.
Oh god, a month.
Well,
I
okay.
don't know.
Let's say a really
No. It's. I think in between 2 or 3 weeks with regular playing, you should be able to either get an uncommon item or get enough shadow stones to buy one. Depends on what item, of course, but
So then why do you think that uncommon items or the ones that are used and being turned in for bounties are going for like such low shadow stones?
I think we still have people who have really high amount of them and they are gradually selling them off
Okay. So
bit by bit.
it just comes down to like how many items had been farmed in the past. So do you think like in
Unfortunately, I think yes. I think that has really big role in item values.
so if the bounty system stays the way it is right now for another year, do you think all of that gets washed out and then we start to see uncommons go up, rares go up, like from the bottom up? Or do you think the market will change from the top down? Like whatever happens to transcendence affects everything else, or mythicals affects everything else? What do you think's more realistic?
I mean, huh, I think the team is working on another system and expanding the system for blockchain circulation. So I don't think that will be the case.
Okay.
That the system will be exactly the same for the next year. But I don't think that will change, even if it does stay the same, because players who have those items are going to buy one Sand Dragon and then just keep doing the cheap bounties, probably.
Until
So gradually over the time, those players who do have a lot of them will spend less and less.
okay. How do you think if we were to look just at how would your thoughts change, or would they even change if tomorrow engine was back at $1.50? Would anything change for you, or is this the same type of thinking that you would apply to items in Lost Relics if engine was back at its all-time high or at an all-time low? Does it affect your thinking, I guess?
It does. It does. Uh, it affects. So if the more expensive item is, the higher tier of the item, I'm looking at the more I will look at it in dollar values.
Oh, okay. So then the
So, for
lower
example,
is engine, higher is dollar.
So up to epics, I'm still looking at those prices in shadow stones. I don't really compare it to dollar value. But if I'm looking at the mythical item or a legendary even, then I tend to convert to dollar value.
That's interesting. I tend to do the opposite. Maybe that's because I've owned my items longer, and maybe that's why my mind is different. But I tend to think of like, when engine's low, I tend like right now, I tend to feel that some of the items that are epic and below are just ridiculously underpriced. Like if I can get an epic sword for like pennies on the dollar, I feel like that's a gimme. But when it goes up to
That's a good point. It's a good, but I think our perspectives are a bit different. I'm looking at this more from a player perspective. Like if I'm buying low tier items, I'm either going to buy them to hoard resources for bounties. If I'm buying high tier items, I'm buying them to use them. I don't really tend to buy items as an investment you
That's
could
true.
say. So maybe my perspective because of that is different. Like I've decided to put, I don't know, $100 to buy myself a bow. And that's it. Like I'm not looking at buying stuff that I think are undervalued to gain profit after. I did that with maybe a couple of items, but it's not really like I think too much of it.
Do you
So
do
maybe
that with
that's,
gold instead?
sorry?
You do that with gold instead of with engine? Like buy
No.
items to try to make more gold later?
Uh, maybe intuitively. Um, yeah, I think yeah, I do. I did buy, but not like I don't. Nothing I do in this game is all in one direction because I got burned too many times
Yeah.
with that. So it depends on the day. Sometimes I'll just buy some resources which have no use, and I don't know, they're epic or legendary, and I figure like, okay, compared to other resources of the same tier, they kind of deserve more value, so I'm gonna buy a batch of it in case it goes up in price. But I don't spend half a million gold buying I don't know, for example, Hellfire Relic or something. um,
I'm
I don't
hoarding
do
those.
that.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I have like a
I
few. I'm hoarding
I
anything
mean,
that can be opened right now and that can be like have like yeah, anything that you can do the strong boxes or the nests, anything that can be opened. I'm just waiting for the new update because
so
people are
why do
gonna.
you think the drop rates will change?
I think with no, I think drop weights will stay the same. I just think that when the update comes, that more people are going to be looking at the overseer and being like, "Oh man, that could be me," and then they're like, "Screw it! Here's my gold. Let me open a strong box, or let me open a."
Oh,
You
so
know,
you're hoarding to sell it, not to open it.
I'm hoarding to sell it so that I can prepare for, so I can use it to up my production skills. That's I'm at the point in the game right now where I have
Ah,
two choices. I think I could either focus completely on combat level and just be grinding Mount Olkepth and Zenny over and over to get to level 120,
mm-hmm.
or I could focus on gold and put it into production skills, which is I think that's the path I'm gonna go unless nothing changes with gold prices and then I missed out on my opportunity. Then I wasted some time, but it's okay. Like then I'll just go into dungeons again.
I see.
Like
Okay.
right now, when the update hits, I'm focusing completely on running dungeons and combat score, and just preparing to look at whatever's going up and whatever I have a good amount of. Maybe I sell half and keep the other half,
Mm-hmm.
and that way I'm just like continuously earning gold, upping gold, upping gold, upping gold, and then depending on whatever's a good price for production skills, I'll go do that and get the XP there. That's my general goal. Which is why I kind of got a little excited when Corey was it Corey or was it Cliff? I forgot. One of them mentioned or was playing around with the idea like, what if we did an app, a phone app that lets you trade the market? And I'd be
Cliff,
like, oh, that'd be so
someone
fun.
asked if that is even in cards, and Cliff said that he has been thinking more and more about that. And yeah, I think that would be a really cool thing. And I think we actually touched base on that in the previous podcast. Um, I would definitely be more part of the market if I was able to be, trading from my phone.
If I could
I'm
see
not sure if
chat,
that's a healthy though.
no, you're probably not right. I don't know. I mean, it depends. It's probably healthy for the game, right? Because more
No,
trading,
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
you
I'm
know.
just looking from,
If I could trade in
my.
app and I could chat like with in-game chat, game over. Like whenever I'm like sitting waiting for whatever to happen and I have 10 minutes to wait, I'm like, okay, let's pop it up. What to do today?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think that will definitely bring much more volume to the market, and I think that's always healthy for the game.
Yeah, I think so too.
Speaking of, what do you think of introducing fees in virtual market, the same that we have in Shadowstones?
Um, I've never said this out loud, but I just have always assumed that there is fees already there, just not being shown. I thought that
Oh,
would be,
really?
yeah, I thought that was the perfect way. So I was talking with Mitch from Million on Mars. He's the developer over there. He played Lost Relics. He still plays Lost
Hmm.
Relics, but he used to play like heavily a year plus ago. And he brought up that comment, and I was like, "That's genius. That's the perfect way to control gold in the game and not have to have players worry about it." But I mean, it's speculation. I have no clue. I just assumed that that's what was happening.
That would be. Yeah, I've never thought about it.
I mean, if
That would be a really sneaky way to do
I
it.
don't I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening because like we already have players that like someone will send me a message on Discord and be like, "Hey Striker, do you have a legendary tool that you could sell me because there's none on the market?" But like, yeah,
Mm.
I'll be right there. I'll post it. So, I don't think that that's what happened. I
Yeah,
just
from
thought
my
it would be a smart.
experience, all trades I did through DMs in virtual market, they were always in one goal exact. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought it would definitely imply putting in trades to go back to your putting in fees to go back to your question. I think it'd be a really good way to control a little bit of gold inflation. But I'm guessing there's probably going to be some gameplay features with this update or the next one after that that will help with gold prices.
mm.
Yeah. Um, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it's
just
too bad right now. I think what needs to happen is that when the update comes out, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's when you're going to see a lot more pendants get into the market. And once the pendants are in there and the gold is changing hands, I think we're going to see where all the quote unquote correct gold prices are. But I don't,
mm.
it's a guess.
Do you have some items that you are monitoring, thinking that are extremely undervalued or overvalued for that matter? You don't
Um,
have to share it. Like, do you just are you
I'm,
paying attention to that?
what I'm paying attention to is I'm not paying attention to that. I'm kind of wondering what happens if so like let's say that we get the next couple updates that involve multiplayer, and that Clory and Cliff start to let players in the game, or a lot more players in the game faster than we've had recently. I'm kind of wondering what does that mean for pendants, and because like in other games that pretty much like you can look at pendants like it's pretty much. I mean, I guess it is free to play, but like I tend to look at it like EVE Online. What they do is like in order to buy game time, you have to buy their main item, which in this case is pendants. So like
Hmm.
I've been thinking about what happens if we do get a lot of players. Then is there going to be a whole group of people that are just like holding hundreds of pendants just to buy and sell and just skim gold to be able to use gold all the time? Like if I have let's say I have like 100 one-day pendants, then
Hmm.
I just buy and sell one-day pendants back and forth, make a little bit of gold every time I do it, try to always stay at 100 pendants, and then I have all the money I need to do production or to speculate or to
Hmm.
if I die and lose my armor to just rebuy it and not have to worry about it. But that's what I've been paying it more attention to. I've been selling pendants right now just to get gold. Um,
Hmm.
but I guess like I was telling you earlier about production skills is if for like let's say as the new update comes out, I'm playing and I'm selling, making gold, but all the resources still stay super expensive, then I probably would just be acquiring pendants and just holding pendants. That's been my like guess about what might be a I don't know
Good strategy.
a good strategy. Trying to do it before. I don't think there's very many people doing it. I think there used to be like 3 or 4 players. Like I think Sam Bam was doing it for a while. Maybe Gecko. A couple other people were doing that for a while, and like we're quickly jumping up the production skill board, and I was leaderboard, and I was thinking like, oh man, if I get that opportunity with good prices, that's what I'll do. But I don't know if I'll
Hmm.
ever get that opportunity. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Yeah. What are your plans right now for the release with this patch in terms of I know you said that you were going to get you wanted to buy a bow, or you already got the bow?
I didn't get it
You
yet.
didn't get
I
it.
just transferred the money in the game, and now I'm
You have an
kind of
order posted, waiting, see what happens. Maybe.
yeah, kind of yeah.
I got you. I
Still
got you.
trying to figure out which type of the bow I will buy. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Should I go for a long bow or short bow? I kind of like it's a speculation, but I still think longbow and short bows are kind of there is just too big gap between them. Um, so I would love to use short bow. I try it so many times. Every time I go to women because I didn't want to buy Draftwinder. Um, so I use short bow, and every time I use it, I was like, oh my god, this feels so good, and it's. I mean, in Vemin, I spent like 3 or 4 mana pots. I mean, that's probably the reason why they did it, for us to make us spend more. But it's just that longbow gives you so much easier, more chill play.
Yeah.
So yeah, now when I have to actually make a decision between a longbow and short bow, I'm not sure which one to buy.
If they were balanced, if everything was balanced, one-handed, two-handed, short and longbow, if they were all completely balanced, I would prefer running one-handed sword and short bow, because
Yeah,
I prefer
me
speed.
too.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
and then with a dodge mechanic coming in, like I would love to be like 3 enemies are coming and it's like 1, 2 dodge away. Like I would love that, but we'll see. We'll have to see how it plays out. We're just guessing, but I'm guessing that bows will eat. Maybe they'll get a little nerf. Maybe the longbow will get a little nerf, but I actually think it's more likely that melee gets a buff, a big buff, because that happened in the past. Like, and he kept bows the same, I think, and the axes specifically. Everyone hated axes. Like a year ago, I think, and then all of a sudden, the axes had an increased power damage compared to swords. They were slower,
Yeah.
you know. So like he did that once, and it's kind of like, well, the balance maybe not be. It's not exactly there yet. Maybe I need to buff it a little bit more and see if that balance reaches. But I don't know. Maybe with new enemies, who knows what's gonna happen, right?
That's the thing also. So for me right now, the only thing that really bothers me with the short bow is that, for example, when you're surrounded with a lot of range mobs, like I feel if there is if there is a relic or something to passively make me faster, I would not have any problems with the short bow, even if it's
Like attack
draining
speed,
this much energy. Sorry.
attack speed faster,
No, movement speed.
movement speed. Okay.
Because then the range of the short bow wouldn't be that much of a problem. Because right now I get beaten up really quickly with 5 ranges, and I cannot shoot them. So I have to run around to shoot them. So if I could have a passive speed, then the distance wouldn't be a problem, because it really looks funny. Like the range is this. It's just like a, I don't know, a big, just a little bit. I feel it. It's just a little bit bigger than the two-handed sword. It's funny.
I just
It's really short.
I just realized I've never used the peppermint with a short bow. That might feel like, you know.
It makes no. I mean, it's totally irrelevant.
Okay. Okay.
You can use it, but it feels broken, and it's unneeded, because you get much less damage. So you kind of, I've tried it out in Arim, and it's better to use with the longbow.
Do you think we get another reason why I think that melee will probably, I think melee would probably has a better chance to get buffed than a change to a bow, is only because I'm expecting in the next couple updates to start getting the first hints of whatever the magic system will be, if there will be magic. Maybe a staff that shoots a bolt, or a wand or something like that. I've always assumed magic is ranged.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess magic could apply to both, right?
If it's a new damage type at all.
Yeah, you're right.
If it's not like a layer over what we already have. Um, but just quickly to go back to buffing melee, what exactly do you, because I was playing my bounties made me do go sands.
Okay.
And I hate that map. So I did it with two-handed legendary and one-handed legendary. It was actually very enjoyable gameplay. So I was wondering, what is it that you see? What will be the outcome of buffed melee exactly?
I mean, I just think that the problem I think with I think using melee versus using ranged, melee just naturally is going to force you to take more damage over the course of a run. You know, so
Okay.
if you're playing for 20 minutes, if adventures get longer, like that's even more incentive to do ranged because of how
Yeah.
much, you know, the time to kill and how much little damage you're taking. So for me, it's more, I don't know, maybe it's more of the how much damage enemies output. Or I don't know, maybe if yeah, I mean that's the only thing cuz like I think it's okay. Like I don't necessarily think the damage needs to be increased. It's just impossible
Then what
to
is
not to
left is
damage.
speed.
Speed is the one that I think could go a lot of different ways. I have no, I mean, because if I'm guessing dodge is already going to increase all of our speeds, because like now we can move to a new position that we weren't able to do fast
Right.
enough before.
Yeah, but what I wanted to say is attack speed. Sorry, I wasn't specific enough.
Oh,
Because you're either going to buff a weapon or lower the health of mobs, or but lowering their health is also having a effect on the range as well. So
what if you could hit
makes no
5
sense,
mobs instead of 4?
or something like that. Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if this is correct, but it feels this way when I'm playing. If I am hitting with a sword or with an axe 4 enemies, and one of those enemies has like increased defense against melee, I feel like that enemy sucks up more damage from the whole 4 mobs. You know what I'm trying to say? Like instead of
Yeah.
doing 100, 100, 100, 100, I'm doing like 50, 50, 50, 250 to the big one, reduced to 50 because of their resistance. But I don't know. I mean, that's just how it feels. I don't know if it's right or that's just in my head. Um,
No, I was just trying to remember. Like I know that with with my with mythical sword in mount, when I'm power shotting Obion and Necronite, it takes Necronite it kills him and it takes down half of the health of Obion. And it usually takes one power shot to kill him, Obion. So I'm not sure. Yeah, those are the things that I would really like to see, like the math behind the math of damage in general, but I don't think they will release something like that before the game is in some sort of a stable state, because it obviously is going to be changed a lot. But
yeah,
those types of
splitting of damage.
calculations, it would really be nice to know.
Yeah.
So we don't have to guess.
Yeah, it's probably, I think you're right. If we ever get it, it would be like at a more polished or finalized state, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that's one of the reasons why I've always been surprised that people don't like axes as much because of how much extra damage that they can do like on one swing versus like when you're surrounded. I've always like thought that was valuable, but maybe other people don't think so. Definitely not as
I don't
valuable
know.
as a ranged bow, as a longbow.
Maybe, I mean, the difference between range and melee is definitely something that has to be balanced out, because the fact that I'm comfortable with running with an epic bow and mythical melee. Like this is the first time that I actually feel nice running the run. It's like two tiers in between.
Yeah.
So something is something needs to be balanced out, either bows or melee.
Yeah.
But I do rely on melee much more, and in cases when you are surrounded, I would not like to see, like, I don't think fighting with an axe would help me survive. It's just too slow compared to the speed of their attack.
Okay. Like in other words, in
You
between you're taking too much damage between your swing and
it eats you up. Like I had a couple of situations in Mount, it literally eats you up in 1.5 seconds. My health goes from 3,000 to 500, depending on the mobs that I'm surrounded with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a really good perspective. You know, changing topics really quick. There's been a couple of, and this is just more about like crypto gaming or Web3 gaming, however you want to call it, in general. There's been some reports from like some really big institutions that I've been reading lately. And I think what the reports have been doing is trying to say like, okay, this is the general idea of what crypto gaming is. And they all say Axie. You know, Axie is crypto gaming. And then from there, we're going to evolve. So they say, okay, what are the things that are holding us back in terms like evolving the space or getting crypto games to the next level? And they each have their different perspectives. I disagreed completely with all of them. I agreed with the topics. I just did not agree with the order. So I'm going to give you what I think my order is. I think the top of the tier, the number one thing right now that needs to be solved is a blockchain system that is scalable, that allows players to be able to do a whole bunch of transactions cheaply. Okay? So we know with Lost Relics that we're going to be implementing or transitioning into the Polkadot system with Efinity, which theoretically will let us be able to do all the transactions that we want super cheap. Okay? We know that for Lost Relics. You know, on Ethereum right now, we're having to pay so much in gas fees. Even when gas fees are low, if we were doing thousands of transactions as a whole player group, you know, that's a lot of fees that get added up, right? So I would assume that being solved is the number one item. Cliff right now has solved it by it being in game, right? But we lose the ability to like see all the extra information, like how many times is this item sold, for what prices, for how often, who's holding them. We lose all of that. Do you think losing all of that, like right now we've kind of solved the problem. It's a temporary fix. Do you think like losing all of that extra info is something that is it so valuable that we need to get it back as soon as possible? Or is it really not that valuable? All that extra info that the blockchain can provide?
I think it's valuable just because it's on the blockchain. I think the fact that we are cherry picking stuff, like the whole point of a blockchain is being a ledger with a lot of data. So now we are using blockchain, but we are not really using blockchain. And I think just because of that, we still should lean on getting those stuff properly. If we are going to use blockchain for that, then we should have all the transaction information, who is the first holder, what number of item is that, is it the first one that dropped or 100th one that dropped, and so those stuff. But now if it's something that is priority to me, not really. Like, I think it's more important to have easier way to transfer items than to have all that data written out.
Is that because inherently you trust Cliff and Corey and the game? Or is that more of a just like, hey, it provides me a better value because I don't have to even think about fees? Because like one of the arguments people will say about using the blockchain is like, you don't have to trust anybody. It's there, it's written, it's a record. We know for a fact it's not going to change. You know, right now, theoretically, you know, we already know items are going to change. You know, we're expecting on this next update a few blockchain items to be redone, like to be swapped.
Yeah.
which I think is good. Like I think that has to happen in a growing video game, or in a video game that's being built out. But I don't know. I'm just trying to gauge, like from your perspective, what you think is important or more important.
I mean, I grew up believing centralized systems, so it's not that hard for me to put my trust in the team, and I also put enough effort to actually know the team. So when it comes to that, I do trust them. Like I don't think they will do on purpose any damage to their players.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, that's the reason why I transferred my items in game.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
that specific
yeah.
reason. Okay, so we talked a little bit about blockchain scalability. I think that's number one. I think if some chain or some project figures that out first, that would probably be the leader for the next few years. My guess. The second one I think is the player onboarding system, which I think I took for granted for a long time, because like when I got into Lost Relics, when I got started, I was barely learning like how the engine wallet works, how transferring NFTs work. I remember having that fear of like all of a sudden my item's not showing in my wallet. Like, is it gone? Did I lose it forever? All of that fear, I think needs to go away one way or another. Because I think that is going to hold back a lot of gamers from jumping on in.
That is definitely something that's needed to make the switch to pull gamers that are not coming from with the crypto background.
So you actually brought that up last time. In the last podcast, you asked the question of like, do you think we're going to get more crypto players or traditional players? So
yeah,
based on what you thought before, how do you think about this question now?
In order to do that, I do think that we have to have very user-friendly transition from one to another. Now, whether the technology is already developed, I don't know. But the premise that you have to know how to use a wallet, install the wallet, keep your seed, the fact that Cliff cannot reset your crypto seed and give you a new password, it's gone, bye-bye items. That's, I think, very scary for someone. So maybe even like keeping an option, but I don't think that can be giving a user possibility to choose between whether you want the game to look out for your items or you want to do it on your own. That ability for us to transfer items in and out of the game, I think it might be important to keep, but I'm not if it's feasible and what the technology gives us at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I have a feeling that, I think it's, yeah, I think, and again, going back to what you asked on the last podcast, like, I do think for the next maybe year, maybe 2 years, we're probably just only going to get crypto gamers. People that are starting brand new. If these items get solved, or not solved, but made easier, I could see a world where that's going to change. But right now I just don't think we're just not there yet. I mean, it's coming. Things have gotten better. I think Engine just yesterday released, or 2 days ago, released the beta for their new Engine wallet on Android. I don't have Android, so I'm not able to test that out. But I think things are going to continuously get it better. It's obvious that they know that this is an issue. But that would be my rank number 2 issue. Number 3, and this is the one where I don't think there is a correct answer, but number 3, I think, is tokenomics. I actually think that the other ones are more important than tokenomics, even though all gamers want to talk about is what's the tokenomics like. Like in this case with Lost Relics, you're playing to, before these last recent updates, you were playing to farm the loot NFTs. After he released those NFTs that were being put into the loot pool, then he implemented the bounty system and the shadow stones. So now you can find those specifically, find currency in the game. for Lost Relics, what I think is the most important, we haven't. I think the two things on the NFT side, how these items that get swapped play out, like, and it's going to take time, but like we've seen one swap already happen. We're going to see another one. We're definitely going to see one or two more into the future. Depending on what happens with all of those, I think will be very important for NFTs. What do you think?
Do you think they will be swapping virtuals or blockchain items or both?
If it was a virtual swap, I don't think they would feel the need to like
Announce
it,
right.
you know, because it's a blockchain swap. I think they're like, hey, we need to give the players a heads up at least ahead of time so that they can make whatever choice they want to before, you know, before anything happens. So that's my guess. And I'm guessing we're going to get the same number as last time in terms of swaps. I think it was 5 or 6 that swapped.
Yeah, I think Corey said minimum 6 items will get swapped.
Okay. So then maximum, what do you think maximum would be? 10?
I don't know. I wouldn't go over 15. I think that's already, yeah, maybe 10.
Maybe 10.
Probably not more than 10.
Okay. With, you know...
Yeah, I think the tokenomics of... I think it depends on how long-term you're looking at it. Like you said in the previous podcast, we will always have players who are looking for a way to earn, and I would assume that those articles that you read would put actually tokenomics on the first place.
They did.
Yeah. Because I think it's an immediate gain, with nice economics, with ability to advertise people that they will actually earn money is the easiest way to get new players. But the bad side effect of that is seeing projects that are looking for a lot of money injection and, I don't know, selling something in the game while the game is not even playable, and offering and actually promising players that they will have that they will be able to earn in this way or another, either renting that what they bought or reselling at the higher prices. And I feel like most of those are false advertisements, and I'm worried that stuff like that putting too much emphasis on earning part is gonna backlash badly, because people, like you said, we only have around 1 million and so players.
1.5.
And if 1.5, if 30 or 40% of those players get wrecked, who is left to play the games? You know, I think that's a very, very dangerous thing to play with other people's money, you know. But it is important. I would even put that in second place instead of third. I think that's more important than user experience with the wallets and getting into the game, because right now and probably in the next 5 years we will be getting people who have some technical background and will probably be able to install the wallet on their phones and join the game. But if there is no incentive for them to join the game, then they'll rather go and play some other game which is highly more complex and more developed, because, you know, it's an older game and has a team behind them and so on.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I think you know, we you know, to stay on this topic just a little bit longer, with NFTs we talked about the fact that, hey, NFT swaps are going to be happening, or blockchain item swaps are going to be happening. Probably will continue in the future as the game grows, you know. And then on the actual token side of it, the fact that Cliff implemented engine inside Shadowstones, which could change, I guess, in the future. But again, I think the most important thing is just that treasury that he's maintaining right now. If we see growth in terms of that as like a program into the future, like the way that it you know the different ways that the game and player activity might be able to help um, the treasury grow and or spending from the treasury happen. Like if that continues to develop and develop and develop, I think that might be the secret sauce right now that Lost Relics the game has. That other games are trying to do it too. Other games are trying to do it too, but I guess if I had to rank it, I would probably put that in terms of tokenomics. I would say the most important thing right now is the treasury, and then number two is the NFTs themselves. Which before I used to think the opposite. I used to think all the value was going to accrue to the NFTs only. But now I think it's more about the ecosystem, because if there is no ecosystem, there is no value in the NFTs. You know, if those shadow stones, drop, and if we just keep making more weapons and more relics forever without us taking over all the video game market, like sooner or later it'll just be too much. But I think that changes when you can drop items from the treasury, because now it's like, look, you could buy a mythical bow, or you can buy a weapon to get into a dungeon. So now you have accessibility based in that NFT, that utility it provides. It can get you to a different part of the game. But also now, because you have the chance of dropping these shadow stones, now you also have the ability to collect more, to earn more off of that one purchase.
Yeah. And the fact that you cannot withdraw them immediately, that you have to actually buy and do one purchase is actually a really, really good thing to do, to just simply like fight the bots and farms and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's like really small and really, really important thing that they came up with to make sure that the treasury is not just drained.
Yeah.
And
I have to give a major shout out to Discord, because he just jumped in the chat right now and dropped a 5 gifted subs. Thank you, my friend. Glad you're here with us and being able to join us for this little talk. I think and Corey said it himself in Discord. Like he mentioned, the over time as the game's being developed, they want to be able to provide more utility into blockchain items. Like you're going to want to have certain items to be able to accomplish whatever the goals are. Maybe defeating. I don't know if we talked about it on stream or off stream, but like the idea about like a boss having a weakness, like to fire, to ice, and if you have the blockchain, the weapon that has that added utility, hey, there's some extra value there for you, and I think a lot of those little things will grow as the game grows.
So what do you think, like looking at I don't know, 5 years from now, do you think new blockchain items will ever stop coming in?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm guessing that in 5 years, 10 years, whatnot, if the game continues and continues, like I don't know. I picture a world like have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Like I picture this thing of like you have all of these players and thousands and thousands of items, but out of all of them, the player base is like, these are the ones that you kind of like what we do right now. It's like if you had to have one transcendent weapon, you would choose a bow. If you had to have one relic, you would choose probably one of the mythical. Maybe it's a Archer ring or a harvester. Like we kind of already do that now. But as the game grows and new stuff comes out, we're gonna kind of like, I think we're gonna be like, harvester is still freaking badass, but this new whatever item, this is the new
we'll always
tier.
have some alternatives to those items, like cheaper alternatives that are good enough compared to those items that it kind of. But do you think if Like, do you think items like Archer's Ring are ever going to be introduced in the game again? Like, because okay, so let me rephrase that. I feel like when you're looking at the blockchain items, I feel like most of the most valuable ones were introduced very early in the game. So my question would be, do you think those items were mistake in terms of not predicting, like in terms of the state of the game that was back then compared to what we have now? Um, do you think we will ever get such a nice items in the future?
I think I think that back then when the items were released, even if they're overpowered or not overpowered or whatnot, even if they're really strong, um, I think back then there was no way to predict where we would be today. Just like right now, I don't think we can predict what we're going to be in 5 years. If I had to guess, I'm guessing that those items will still remain very powerful, but I think there might be new items that come along that supersede them. Especially like with this idea that people were saying about we got a hype train going. You guys are freaking awesome. Um, especially with this idea of like, hey, for a limited amount of time, if you are a player that discovers one of these blockchain items, in the future update, like that we might have like really low mint items, like, and those being so low mint, like I might actually even think that in the future that they might continue to get buffs and buffs and buffs. I This is what I used to think, and I think I'm wrong. But I can't let it go. I've always had the feeling that all these, specifically the relics that are in these different tiers, mythical, legendary, epic, I've always felt like that as the game progresses, all of those items would be buffed or nerfed the same way weapons are to keep them in the same type of power utility based on their class. So like right now, I used to think that like War Pledge, like very few players run with War Pledge, even though it's a mythical relic. I've always been under the idea of like, look, it's mythical, and my guess has been that Corey and Cliff would want to keep it in at that level of like, hey, if it's mythical, it deserves to be X powerful, and then it gets a buff. Now, I don't know if that's right. Maybe that's wrong. That's how I used to think about it back in the day when I was making purchases and aiming for certain items. I used to think like this item is a lot less expensive because it has low utility, but it's still mythical or it's still legendary. Like it has a chance to get a buff. That's what I used to think. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
Okay, that's a valid point, and I was actually thinking the same way. Like I was expecting that as game progresses, the items will be tweaked along the way. But then I saw situations with, for example, Santa Slay, Sand Luckily, Sand there wasn't a lot of them in circulation when it got nerfed. And then it raises a question of how old is item allowed to be tweaked that much? Like, is there any line that you have to draw Like, would it be fair at this point, for example, nerfing a Harvester of Sorrow?
I wouldn't.
Because it went through so many hands, so many people put in and out money of that item, and that's like my concern. That's why I asked, do you think that we will ever get new items that are as powerful as the old one as the old one are?
I think. I mean, I just think that. I mean, Corey and Cliff are human beings. Well, Cliff is a human being. I don't know about Corey. But so like, when I think of it like from a player's perspective, like if you've been playing Lost Relics for some time now, watching streamers, looking at items, if you're in it, then Harvester is one of the first items that comes into your mind. Like when you think of like when you think Lost Relics NFTs, I think you think Harvester, you think Godslayer, you think probably Pumpkin, you think I don't know. You add two. What are two that when you think are just random items? What comes into your head in terms of popularity?
Legion's Fall.
Legion's Fall. Okay. And maybe one more.
Ring.
And because those are items, you know what? Even let's make it 6. Founders token.
Items.
Put the Founders token in there. And like, if that's what players think, just like that is what is the brand of Lost Relics, I don't know if you would ever want to really play with that. You know, like I think I'd rather. I mean, if it was me, I would probably create an item that's stronger, rather than go and change one of those. Just because those are like those are the items, you know. Those are the, I don't know. Those are what has been dug into players.
Items that you shouldn't touch, really.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm okay with them. Like if they go up in utility or go down with utility, you know, I'd be cool with that. If they change, I mean, it is what it is. If they got to change, they got to change. But yeah, I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know. I just think that the player base would be very vocal if one of those changed. But maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? You know, the last item that was on that list in terms of like things to solve, and you hit this one nail on the head last time. This idea of like play and earn versus pay to win. And you know, people, the comments that they were making were the same comments you made before about like, hey, what happens in a world where the best items or a majority of the items are all in a few players' hands? Like, is both the articles that I read pretty much said like that's death. Like if that happens in a game, the game won't survive because no one's gonna want to participate in a world where they don't feel like they can progress. It pretty much what they're saying is like at that point the game is over. The game has already been won. You know, move on to the next thing. I have no clue on what to think about this because I've been listening to I've been listening to like Asmongold talk about pay to win. And I've been listening to a lot of popular gaming streamers talking about like how this is the death of video games. And I look at the numbers and I'm like,
was he referring to Diablo Immortal or something else?
He was referring to Diablo Immortal in the video I'm thinking of right now, but it applies to a lot of different games. And I keep hearing gamers, the hardcore gamers, saying like, this is the death of video games. Like, if we go this far, like it's just no one's gonna want to play these games anymore because they're not fun. But then I look at the numbers and I'm like, more people are playing than ever. More people, the biggest games in the world are the games in the world that are titled pay to win. You know, Genshin Impact. You know, I have no clue what's going to happen with this. I think I think it has something to do with what I was saying before about like players just come in with the mindset of like, hey, if there's value here, I want to participate in it.
Maybe that's just the side effect of you know how before, like basically a couple of whales were funding other players. You know, they were giving a lot of money to a specific game which was free for others. So maybe what we are seeing right now is games being promoted as free, but for those who are those whales from the times before, are ones who are able to give $1 million to hit the top rank in Diablo Immortal. Maybe it's just that there's just this shift of roles in player base that we are seeing that is adjusting to the current market of the games in general.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go a little bit further. I think, the the thing is that all of these games, I just don't know I don't know what players value. Like, look, it, the price of games has not changed in like 30 years. A box retail game. You're going to go to the store, you're going to pay $60, $70 US. And that's been the same since like the 90s. Okay. But if we look at all of these big games that are being built, these AAA games, billions of dollars of budget, like that's going up every year. They're spending more and more and more to make bigger and bigger and bigger games. So of course they have to find a way to be able to make that cost back, or else those new AAA video games wouldn't exist. You wouldn't be able to fund them. Now, when we talk about a little game or an indie game, like Lost Relics, this is an area where the developers have more freedom to take the chances they want to take, because they don't have that huge cost that comes with, a staff of 200 people and marketing of X millions of dollars and servers across the world, So like, I guess in the indie game development is where you have the chance for seeing like the new wild, or the new ideas, the new gameplay genres, the new play and earn, or NFTs, the new everything. So
I mean, it's just a reflection of the real market in general. Like you see these giants like Google and Amazon, whichever smaller company succeeds in something, finds a new niche or whatever, they just buy it. So I think the same thing is with indie games. What these big companies do, they just let small games try and hit a couple of walls, and once they actually find a nice way to solve a problem, they either pick the problem or try to buy off the game. But I think we kind of went far away from your initial questions.
Play and earn versus pay to win.
Yeah.
For me, when I think about it, I think in the extremes. Just extreme number one is what happens when a player or a group of players, a guild or whatever, acquires all the items in the game. Or even you could take it less than that. Like what you said last time about like, what does it mean when the OGs, the people from the very beginning of the game, had an opportunity to farm more? What does that mean for the health of the game going into the future? Like, I think that's one extreme. And then on the other extreme, I think is there has to be, I mean, I just don't see a way it's not going to happen. There are going to be so many gamers from countries across the world that minimum wage is below $3 an hour, $2 an hour. They're going to be playing these games, these games with economic incentives, and they're going to have opportunities to make a little bit more than what they would working a job over there. So I just don't see a world where that won't happen. We can argue about the ethics of it, and like for me, it doesn't. Like when I first saw Axie in the scholarship program, like I didn't like it. I didn't like the idea. I thought it was manipulative. But now I'm starting to think like, look, this is going to be a trend that you're not going to be able to stop, because even if it is I don't know. It's still better than the option that some players have in some countries. It's still better for them to play a game for a little bit of time than to do whatever their item they have. And if that continues, like that's what I think crypto games in the short run is going to turn into. An even bigger explosion than
I was talking with one of our streamers. He's from Philippines, and he told me like transcendent item is a life-changing money for them. So yeah, I mean, we will now, whether we should argue if it's moral or not, I think that's one of those things in life where you can always find someone who isn't much worse positioned than you are. And as long as the incentive of the game is not like, if it's okay, so we can look at it this way. If the game is kind of forcing, so in terms of scholarship, if you are the one that gives scholarships to others, if the game forbids you to progress in any other way except you having your scholars around, then I think it's not a moral thing to do. But if it's just allowed for you to do that, then it kind of, the responsibility is on you as a player.
Right.
But I don't know, like, I don't know if those things can be separated.
I don't know. I don't think that they can. I think that people want them to be separated, but I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out in the future because, one of the things, I don't know if I can share this on screen because I didn't prepare to do that. But the report that I showed, it's got to be, let me see if there's a way to do this. No, I'm
You
not
have to share your screen with me, and that means whatever you have on your screen right now.
Okay, so I'm going to try to show something here. So bear with me, chat, while I see if I'm able to get this right. Okay, you're going to lose both of us, but let me see if we can get this. Okay, so let me know if you can see this, Ivana, real quick. This is a report that was done by A16Z. Are you able to see it clearly or not really?
Yeah, I can see it on my tablet.
So this is pretty much like what this is how they assume that what crypto gaming looks like right now and like where it's going. So if you start at the bottom, because I don't like how they put this at the bottom, but like pretty much what they're saying is that, look, crypto games start with NFTs. It starts with the idea that you are able as a player to earn and own items. It's scarcity. Okay. Then it goes into games implementing in-game currencies. We see this in other games like Axie with SLP or Lost Relics with Shadowstones, right? It then evolves into virtual lands, which players again then own, and they own a portion of the game world. But the combination of these three turn into this whole new work supply chain or whatnot that all revolves around labor. So guilds form that their job is to in this case, asset factories means like breeding axes. Like in other games, it's like, hey, or like in Lost Relics, we don't know if this will happen, but maybe at some point you're gonna have a production skill to where you can mint NFTs or BC items. Like that would be like the factory. Like you play the game to make this stuff, then you get scholarships or players to do the labor. They're the ones that are playing with the items or renting the items or doing whatever, which turns into. And this is the two that we haven't seen yet. They're predicting it's going to turn into group ownership. So like if these guilds get big enough or if the player group, the player clans or guilds like formalize, like they will continue to do this and try to earn more and more and more and more, which will eventually lead to these video games implementing decentralized exchanges. So imagine like Lost Relics, what do you call it? Lost Relics puts the blockchain marketplace. Now you can sell an item, but then you could turn it into Bitcoin instead of Shadowstones, or you could turn it into something else. This is all their predictions.
Interesting with this graph, really, it's a representation of the world.
Okay. From how do you?
No, put it back.
Okay, 1 second. Let me open it up. Because I accidentally closed it like an idiot. Let's see. It started with NFTs, and okay, here we go. Go into my folder.
Started with NFTs, which we can, let's say, it's a brick of gold. It's a raw material. Then it goes to in-game currency, which is how we invented paper money. Then it went to what was it?
So it went from in-game NFTs to in-game currency to virtual land.
Okay, so virtual land. Okay, physical land, owning a land. After that, was it the scholarship or?
It was guilds, then guilds.
Guilds. Okay, so it's a tribe.
Then guilds to asset factories. So like. The tribe is working to do something.
Okay, then slavery and whatever. You have someone who is working for you. In English, fundamentals. No, it's not a feudal system.
Okay, yeah, and then From there, we go to scholarships.
To scholarships.
Scholars.
Yeah. So okay, we kind of formalize slavery.
So when you say slavery, I mean, I get it. I get, because we have the moral argument behind it. Like, when I see it, if there was a way, I mean, we're gonna have to have a huge conversation about the ethics of it. But assuming the ethics gets played out and we create a fair system, if a fair system miraculously appears, then what that is economic. That is digital labor. You know, it is like in the real world right now we have, the asset holders and investors, and then the blue collar laborers and workers. Like, so the owner of the factory and the workers on the line, or the owner of the video game studio and the programmers that work for the studio or whatnot. From scholars, it goes to ownership groups. So I think that's like, I mean, I kind of didn't think about it the way you just said it, but now it makes a lot of sense, because then it goes into like laborized unions. Now it's like, hey, like, yeah, like we are a group of 10,000 scholars and we will work for you if you agree to pay us 60% of the fees instead of 40%. If not, we'll go work for someone else. And then from there into decentralized exchanges, which is like, that's the part I don't really see yet.
It's a country monetary system in the country. Whatever.
Yeah, that was really good. That was really, really good. I did not think about it like that at all.
I went through the graph and it immediately goes like, this is, and what we end up is.
Bear with me, Chad. I'm gonna try something real quick.
Video games actually solve some of the biggest world problems. If we, like, I'm really interested to see how the economics of, for example, Lost Relics plays out, because I can totally see a lot of similarities with the real world. From the market manipulation to everything, printing money, inflation, like every problem that we have in real world, it can in some way be present in the virtual worlds, especially when you have money involved.
Yeah, I pulled it back. I pulled it back up. This was the one in case you wanted to see it again. But yeah, we got it pretty much right. Composability, pretty much saying like, this is what the crypto gaming market is made out of. Like, if you are in the crypto gaming market as a participant, you are in one of these things.
Yeah, and this is why I think this graph is wrong. I don't think this is something we should follow, because it definitely follows the real world system that we have, and it's obviously not working. I would rather put, like, to be honest, I feel like we have better developers of the games, like smarter people working in that area than we have in politics. So I would rather put my faith in a programmer than whatever we saw so far.
I think you're not wrong there.
I mean, I feel like this is the representation of what we have so far, but I'm not sure if it's, I wouldn't say correct one, but I wouldn't like to blindly follow it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that line right now is probably right when you get to, right after you get to guilds. Because I think right now the group of guilds, the big ones, the YGG, the Merit Circle, all of them, they're doing what that is. They're doing asset factories and scholarships. I don't think that's what's going to be successful in the future. I think guilds are going to come up with a new and better model or method to follow. But what that will be, I have no clue. I mean, it's going to have to depend, right, on in terms of, yeah, it's going to have to depend on the tools. I don't want to say it. It sounds bad. I don't want to say that it depends on the tools that the developers give the players to use, because then it feels like it's all on the developers. But that can't be true. But I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I mean, it really depends on the like, what's the target audience of the game. If you have, like, I feel like market of the Lost Relics would definitely behave differently if we have much more kids than what we have right now. Like we have mostly those are players around their 30s. They have jobs, it's they have maybe some money aside that they can spend on video games. And then you have, at least we had at some point, people who are trying to really earn money for a living from playing this game. um, I don't know. I don't know how to approach that. At some point, we will be having kids playing this game as well.
That's true.
That is going to reflect in some way on the market and the state of the community itself.
Yeah, it's going to be really, it's going to be fascinating to see. But you're correct. Like at some point in time, like right now, you're right. You're either probably old. If you're playing the game, you're either 25 or older, or you're technologically savvy. You could be young and know a lot about computers, about these systems, about blockchain, and be playing the game. But yeah, you're probably either older and willing to put in the time and the learning to be able to even get in the first place.
Yeah, I think a lot of younger population that is not really patient. I've seen a lot of players simply giving up because the instructions were unclear. That meme. I think right now players who are still playing are the ones who are willing to explore, who are willing to put a time in the game. Now, whether that will change, I don't know. I don't see a point of building a tutorial for a game that is being developed and changed all the time.
Yeah.
But I think right now we kind of have a really healthy player base.
I think so too. I want to see what happens to the player base when we get the influx of a lot of the old players coming back, and maybe the release of some new people on the waiting list.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how the market will behave when we have like a large amount of people, because right now I think a lot of players are pretty high up, and that's why we have kind of you feel like higher tier resources are not as valued as you would expect it to be. Like it takes a lot of time to level up gathering skills to level 40, and then you see the resources being sold at 300 gold, and then like what?
Yeah, and then you're Ivana spending all of your gold to get them before the update.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I buy every now and then some high tier resources, because I feel like at some point we will have more low tier, low level players who will not be able to obtain those resources. And if they get a use, their price may go up. But that's a long term thinking, not really short term.
Just to comment really quick in terms of one of the items that was posted in chat, because Corey came in while we were talking about the items like Harvester changing, or whether more powerful items would come out. And just to bring it up, his words, there's no need to alter any items unless they become game breaking. But before we would even come to that point, we would need to try very hard to tweak the content first that's affecting them. That also brings up one item that I missed on something that you had said when you were talking about the like Sand Dragon being changed, and what was the other one that was changed? The Santa Slay.
Santa Slay.
I think what puts those separate is the fact that they felt too overpowered the moment they were released. I think
that's true.
I think it would be different if we get a new update and an old item becomes super powerful. I think that's different than getting the item and on release being it super powerful.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. I agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah. I think, pretty much the last thing then that I wanted to hit on was this idea of continuing off of the graph that we said, because like that's their picture in terms of how they think these games are going to grow, or what these games are now, what they're made of. In both of us.
Yeah, I was going to ask: is this their how they describe the current state, or how they think the games should develop in the future?
It is how they describe the current state and then how that state will grow into the future. So like I think that they didn't even get the correct state. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to say this is it, this is what it is right now, and because this is what it is, this is how it will grow. And I'm kind of saying like I don't even think you got what it is here, even though you're touching on some really important items. Like we don't know what's going to happen with scholarships and that idea of digital work, but something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Who knows what? You know, I think the one that's probably the most incorrect is the idea of like asset factories, because I don't see a world where the whole purpose of a player in the game is only to do one thing. I mean, I guess it could exist, but like if you played Lost Relics to only be an engineer and only make engineering items all the time, I mean, I guess you could do that if you wanted to. I just don't think that that's going to be. I think that will be a very small, minute group of players. I mean, I guess if they're earning something, then maybe they will. I don't know.
I don't know. That's actually very interesting, and I think it's more wide question than they even realize. I think we talked briefly about that in the last podcast. The problem that I see with that is giving players ability. I mean, my background in gaming is not really strong, but I've played sorry, Path of Exile, and I've seen what happens if you give players enough flexibility with crafting items. And I see this asset factory as a way, at least subclass of that. If we are producing our own NFTs, we are basically taking the control of the game. Now, connecting that with my previous questions of what would happen if a player accidentally crafts insanely powerful item? Will that game change? You know, because in theory, it's their own item. So to tackle that, game should adapt to that item in a way if you want it not to be too OP. The other way to tackle that is to change the item, but then that kind of clashes with the idea of you owning an item that you created.
I think, like, if we were to take it one step backwards, the idea of creating an item and as a player and being able to sell it, or you know, use it or do whatever you want with it, like creating a blockchain item. I think the one step backwards is, as a developer, how do we share in the profit-making motives of the game with the player base? I think that is the question that crypto games can do that traditional games don't do. Which is, again, how do you share in the profit generation or the income generation of the game with your player base? Right. The reason why it works for crypto games is because if you provide, you know, the ability to share that with the players, then that means more players will play. So having a larger population, you can then earn as a developer differently than what you did before. So like with crypto, we have fees in the blockchain marketplace. Okay. In a world where the game explodes and things are going great and super built out over the course of years, the biggest way that I think the game will make money will be from those fees. And if that is more than enough to cover the growth of the game, developer salaries, marketing, you know, all the economics behind it, then you can easily make the choice of saying, okay, look, all the other incentives that can generate income or generate value, we'll let the players do that. That is that is the perk that we can share because of this new system that we couldn't share before. Because right now, pay to win right now is like, we have a X billion-dollar budget. We need to come up with a way to recuperate that budget and make a profit, and then that's it. With Web3 gaming, it can be, okay, look, we have, as part of the growing strategy, as part of the marketing strategy, we will share some of this income from development with the players, who we will then be able to take fees off of the top to continue the growth of the game. It makes it even crazier when you think about crypto. Like, if we were just talking dollars, if this was just dollars, that system could work. It probably would work. I don't know. But because it's crypto, if a game is successful, then whatever that token is that they're collecting the fees are, that in itself is going to increase in value.
In value.
Which means the developers win because they have all of these fees that are going up in value, and the players win because they're natively transacting in that valued token. And it's a more shared wealth.
Who is putting the initial value in the game?
The developers. The
Okay.
developers. So it would be something like if I wanted to start, let's say I wanted to start a game right now. What I would need to do is I want to say, okay, how many people do I need to do this? I would need at least a programmer. I would probably want to get an artist and then an executive to handle the business part of it. So let's take a team of 3 people. Okay? Team of 3 people, average salary, I don't know. Super cutting it basic, $30,000 a year. Okay? Say you need to develop it for 3 years, that's already $100,000. I mean, that's already, $300,000. Okay? So now I need to say, okay, look, I have a budget of $300,000. And now the developers are saying, okay, how do we make that back first before we share? Because if we can't make it back first, then we can't make the game. So the first thing we do, we sell NFTs. We sell founders tokens. Boom, we've raised, I don't know, 50,000. Okay. Then we implement a pendant system. Boom, there's another 100,000. Then we implement fees from the blockchain marketplace. Okay, now we've crossed the level into profitability. And now, as the game grows, we can share anything as we go forward with the player base to keep them incentivized to play. Because you have to first make it to where you can survive. And then after you do that, then you can share with the players, I think.
Yeah. The only thing that has to be considered is not falling in a trap of building it so that the value is relying on new players, because then it's a slippery slope to Ponzi, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think there's a lot of examples of businesses that have customers that are like 1,000 people. You have a business that only has 1,000 customers across the entire world. And that business can be more successful and earn more income, depending on what it does, than a business with 1 million customers. And in that model, of course, you wouldn't be your whole goal isn't to be able to make income by getting more people in. You're just servicing a group.
Servicing the existing ones, yeah.
Yeah.
With the bonus of new people getting in, of course.
Yeah, exactly. That's the cherry on top, or the sprinkles or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, we covered a lot so far. I love it how when we talk, the time just flies. Like now we're at like an hour 40. Are there any topics, or while we were going, that maybe we didn't cover that you popped in your mind, or maybe we can scroll through chat really quickly if any of you guys have any questions we'd love to cover to maybe wrap it up. But yeah, I think we had a really good one.
If D&D caught anything.
Sounds good. I think it was. I know that I had another round of items I wanted to talk about, but when I closed that screen earlier, that I was trying to get it back up, I didn't save it, so I completely lost it. But either way,
there is a question from the Dillian for you.
Okay.
Could you share both your opinion on blockchain gaming, like the two of us? on blockchain gaming on this. I personally prefer games based on cosmetics. What's your preference?
Oh man, that is so hard. I think I remember having this question like 2 years ago about Lost Relics. And I remember saying at the time, I said, I have no clue how to value cosmetics. All I know how to do is look at a sword, or I can look at a weapon, or I can look at a relic, and I can say like exactly what you said. One, how long is it going to take me to get this thing if I just play for free? Two, what utility am I going to get from it? Can it like increase my loadout to go to another dungeon or whatever? When it comes to skins and to pets, I have no clue. I have no clue. And like, if you look at my stash right now, like I'm super low on pets. I'm super low on skins. I have like one for me, and that's it. Just because like I don't know. I have written somewhere on one of my to-do lists to research the fashion industry to try to learn a little bit about this, but I'm whew, I have no clue. Your guess is as good as I'm rolling the dice at that point.
I think at the moment when we have live, what's the term for that? Like when the town becomes alive, when we literally are able to see people running around, I think at that point cosmetics
Is
like
everything?
skins will go up. That's my opinion. Now I'm buying skins from the shop because I feel like that's a nice way to support the game. But I don't think I ever bought a blockchain skin from the Emporium. Because like
think I bought one from the Emporium. Maybe two.
yeah. I mean, I don't like I don't think I put too much value on it, but I do think in the future, and I do think in cases when we have a large player base, players will like to look different and be special, and the best way to do that is to have a very rare skin on yourself. But as I said, like in the future when we are able to, you know, stop that person and maybe chat with it with their NPC, and you know, hey, you have a really cool skin, when did you get it? Oh, you know, it was Easter 2021 when I bought it, blah blah blah.
For me it has been like, if I look at it like from the big picture, like zoom out as far as I can, what I think is, I think, okay, what will happen to game worlds where all you do is buy cosmetics, versus game worlds where all you do is you buy items for power, you know? What would happen if those two games just went to their extremes?
You mean which one would survive?
Yeah, well, let's assume both of them can survive, and let's assume both of them would be successful. Like, what would be the differences between the players? Like, at that point, I think we're just talking about, like, what do players want? I think there are more players that want cosmetics than want... I think there's more players that are willing to spend on cosmetics than they're willing to spend on power?
Really?
In the whole world.
You think Diablo will go that route if that was the case?
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's hard.
I mean, didn't you say that pay-to-win games are actually the ones that are being played the most?
Yeah, but they're being played more by the players that value. There's more free-to-play players that value cosmetics than there are whales that value power. But all of the players that are the whales that value power, they're the ones that are being serviced.
What if it's because it's much easier to buy one skin than to buy your power? Like, looking at the amount of money that you have to put in. Like if you're buying one mythical skin, you'll be paying for it $60, for example. Uh, but to buy power in this game, you have to invest much more. So maybe there's just, you know, the cookie cutter of being an important in the game is having a really cool skin that can differentiate you from others. Uh,
I guess for me, I mean, when I think of like we're playing a game, I think
yeah,
of what are the things that I need to do to progress in the game part of it. Now, the fact that the game exists means that all these other avenues also come alive. So, and interacting socially and comes alive. Even though that's not the game, we're not playing Lost Relics to talk with people, but because Lost Relics exists, we're talking with people. And because we're
yeah,
talking with people, now you want to distinguish yourself. And like
yeah,
one of the things that is like in crypto, like one of the tent poles that people keep talking about is virtual identity, like your personal digital identity. And when I think of cosmetics, I think like that has to be it. Like, I mean, that,
yeah. I mean,
right?
yeah, you can see that with the titles. Like everyone is freaking out when they get a special title only for them. Like that's the top thing that you can accomplish right now in terms of being special is getting a one specific title for yourself. So yeah, I would assume that people are really valuing that much more than I initially thought they are.
So I would assume like if on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is like ultimate hype, where would you be in terms of those titles? Like a 5, a 4? Because I was like at a 2 or a 3. When they were released, I was like, this is cool, but I'm gonna go back to making like doing whatever I gotta do to increase my chances to get a blockchain item. But now I'm like, I hear this, I see the same things you're saying, and I think you're completely correct. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be cool, but it's not. Um, I mean, I was using the title literal trash for such a long time. um, Now I'm the undercover operative and stuff. I don't think I even used. I maybe I spent like a couple of days using one of those transcendent titles. Like I don't know. I think I prefer what it says rather than its rarity. So I'm not sure how would I would put myself maybe at 4 out of 10,
I
not more
gotcha.
than that.
I gotcha. But I
Um,
think for a lot of players, I think I'm the minority in that. Like if I'm at a 2 or a 3,
yeah,
I would guess the average is like a 6 or a 7. You know,
yeah,
but
probably.
you know,
There was another question.
yeah. Corey also mentioned the idea of what
Oh
happened.
no,
Why
I
can't
saw that.
cosmetics have utility? Like, yeah. I mean, then I
You don't
wouldn't.
do that, Corey. At the end of this.
I mean, if then I wouldn't be thinking that they're cosmetics.
Yeah, then it's not cosmetics anymore. I think.
It's an item that gives you that gives you. It's an item that comes with cosmetic, like with a skin. I don't know. It's
Yeah, that would be a visible armor, for example, right now on the
oh yeah,
characters.
good point. Good point. Like yeah, visible armor. That's exactly it.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think there is a lot of different things that you can do with cosmetics, like I don't know, giving someone wings if they're level 100. Like I think that would be cool stuff. Like not literally making your character faster, but a nice way to differentiate a player immediately with something that they achieved.
Yeah.
Like using cosmetics as show off of your achievements is a really nice thing to merge those two.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. Like you unlock a skin because you were one of the few that killed this a boss that came out for
Yeah,
2 weeks.
yeah. You get like skin for boots. I don't know, whatever. A horn. uh,
Yeah, that would be really cool. Yeah, well, I think we covered a lot of them. Always a great talk, Ivana, when you and me get on the stream together. I know the Twitch stream showed that I was dropping a few frames, but I didn't really see anyone complain too much, so I think we're going to be okay. Um, yeah, any last closing thoughts? Anything about, I don't know, the update or anything you can think of?
What are you the most excited about the update?
My I'm
What would make you
I
happy?
I'm going to be looking for any of the new things that come out that are a hint about what multiplayer will look like in the future. Because we're not going to get co-op right now, but if a system or if an item or if an adventure changes, and I look at it and I'm like, why did they change that? That's something that would really be beneficial when we get co-op or when we get multiplayer. Those will be the things I will be keeping my eye on, specifically. I don't know if they're coming yet, but that and Slither Skin utility. I'm just kidding. What about you? Anything you're going to be keeping your eye for on the new update?
I'm just very excited about new layouts, to be honest. I am kind of my progression in this game was very slow, and it took me like 7 or 8 months to come to higher tier maps, and I'm kind of now bored of playing them. So I think I will probably enjoy mostly in new graphics and music, and I'm not thinking too much in terms of items, to be fair, because
Mhm.
I mean I have everything I need to play. For this state though, if they buff maps like crazy, that I don't have enough good enough gear, but we'll see.
I would think, going back to two of the little leaks, both of the leaks that have like audio cues, either the sound of the wind or the storm or whatnot. I think those might be items that players overlook, but I actually think that those can be things that like can really put you like when you're in the zone, when you're playing the game, like those are things that just like bring you in closer. They like it can make you feel like I don't know, like let's say we're in Mount Olkep and you hear the sound of the volcano going off. Like it can put you into the game world and make you feel like you're really in it, which I think
Yeah.
I'm excited for those little things.
Yeah, I think there's going to be plenty of those little things. But yeah, that and you know making game requiring more skills to play, basically. But I'm not sure if that's something that will come in the next update. That it's not click spamming.
Yeah. Maybe we'll save it for the next podcast, but I would like to talk to you about skills specifically. That was the last item that I had. Now that you bring it up, that was the last item that I had
More
on.
than fist fighting.
More than fist fighting. Yeah. So skill gameplay, I think is a good topic. I think we can talk a lot about. But hey, thank you, Ivana, for jumping in with me. I had a blast. I look forward to the next one. Chat. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
We'll do this. I will hope we will be able to do this as soon as possible after the update.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I will definitely be doing is reaching out to you once the Medium article comes out. Because
right. Okay.
that would be a fascinating talk. Because we can both guess. Like we have more information, we guess, and then we can come back later and be like, "Oh, I was completely wrong," or like I hit it spot on.
Rewatch the video.
Rewatch the video. That would be a good one. So just keep posted, everybody. I'm sure the updates obviously being worked on. Corey had mentioned he had it down to just one hand. The thing is that Corey's a robot and we don't know how many fingers are on that hand, but we'll find out pretty soon. Hopefully right around the corner. Anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed it. This is Striker and Ivana signing out. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Thanks.